Hi, my name is Liam Rivers. I am a student at Tennessee Tech University, formerly 2 years at Kent State. A little bit about me. I was born in Florida, but at the age of 3, I moved to Ohio, and I lived there pretty much my whole life. A couple months ago, I moved to Tennessee to continue pursuing my education in cybersecurity at Tennessee Tech. Now, for my class question, it was, what is American poetry? And to be honest, I don't think there's a right answer to that. I think you could ask 100 people and they all might say something different. You could say it's just got to be something written by an American, or it can be written by anybody, but it's got to be about America. Something that has to be significant culturally or insightful. And I think that there's no strict guideline, but if a piece of work follows, if it follows one of those rules, I think you could classify it as American poetry. You could have something written by somebody who lived in France for 30 years, but if they moved to America, got naturalized, or they experienced something very different, and they wrote something about it, you could classify that piece of work as American poetry. Now, for the favorite poem project, I chose Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. And he is an American poet, a very good American poet. Actually, he was the poet laureate of the state of Vermont. And being the poet laureate of a state is a very high position to hold as a poet. He's very successful. Obviously, he was also nominated for the Literature Nobel Prize over 30 times. And I'm sure that even if you haven't read any of his works, you've probably heard of Robert Frost. He's taught in schools at almost every level. And here's his poet, Nothing Gold Can Stay. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. And I think it's a very profound poem. And when you look at it, for the first time, you read it, at the very surface level, it's about nature. Nature's first green is gold. He's talking obviously about how grasses, leaves, flowers, when they start to bloom, to bud after winter, everything's died off, the buds of those are yellow. They're of a gold color. And that's why nature's first greenery is gold. If you go on to, the second line, her hardest hue to hold, it talks about how that, the buds don't stay gold. They blossom. The flowers blossom, the leaves start growing out. But the next line is actually, the next two are very interesting. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. And when you look at that, you know that, the leaves don't stay there for just an hour. And I think this is where he starts to get into a more metaphorical approach where this isn't just about nature. I think here he starts to alluding that the gold isn't just about buds, it's about experience. Green could be something very new, a new experience. If you start a job, you're very green, you're a rookie, and, it doesn't last forever. So Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down to day. And he continues talking into that metaphor. He continues giving into that metaphor that your first experiences and new experiences, they don't last forever. That very green feeling you have, it's not going to stay gold. He uses the use of gold as he uses it as an allusion to something great, something very joyful or rich. And I think a lot of people do find that in first experiences. When you first learn a job or you experience something for the first time, it can be a very great feeling, great experience. But he kind of keeps talking about that fact throughout the whole poem. Nothing gold can stay, the final line. He uses that, nothing gold can stay, as a way to say, just because, something's great now, in the moment, or, you're experiencing something now, it's not going to last forever. And Robert Frost personally actually experienced a lot of tragedy in his life, from his father and his mother dying tragically, his daughters dying or being committed to an asylum. He's faced a lot of personal tragedy and grief. And I think he kind of reflects that in this poem. He says that, just because you're happy now, it's not going to stay. And that's a very somber meaning. I think you can talk about that a little bit in the line, so Eden sink to grief. It's a very sad meaning. But I kind of look at it as, you're right. Nothing gold can stay. Nothing's going to be joyful, happy forever. But that's why you have to appreciate it while you're here, while you have that. And when you look back at it, you read it a second, a third time. I think Robert Frost also realizes that. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. I think he shows a lot of appreciation for the things he's experienced, the joys, the happiness of life that he's experienced, and that he knows nothing will stay, and you have to enjoy it while it's here.